Or inferring exactly that he knows about the baby switching thing because everyone thought Adu's child died later due to the poisoning. Even though it wasn't her actual baby. Look at the board. Look at the board. If you're confused with what I'm talking about, look at my board. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're back with another episode of the Apothecary Diaries. We come back with a board and some notes, and I will admit the board, not a lot has changed. So I'm going to show you anyways. So you know, there's always a link down in the description below if you want to see this bigger, better, uncut. Sorry, I don't know where to go with that. But I'll give you the board change log, which is all of one thing. I added Li Shu's former head lady in waiting. And technically I didn't put it on here, but I added 2 white lines from her to Kanan and Li Shu, obviously. Didn't seem like she got fired, even though I would hope that she would have. That and all the other ladies in waiting would have been replaced, but no, it just seems like she got put in her place. And like, Maomao is like, oh man, that's vicious. And it's like, is it really? Because she's still working here. And I don't think Kanan's gonna do anything to her, even though Kanan's the new, or she is now the head lady in waiting. But she's been that since she got promoted out of the taster position, so it's not really like new. I just hate the entire thing that's happening over there, that pavilion. Anyway, I also have notes, of course. I always have notes, but not that many notes this time either. Mostly because last episode was, I guess, this season's version of the metallurgy episode from the first season. So once you figure it out, you kind of just don't have that much to talk about. But anyway, I said, I've got notes. Let's hop into that. It's interesting, this power play that seems to go on between Gyokyo and Jinshi these days. Technically, Maomao is being lent out to her, but is still technically in his employ. But it would seem from one side that Gyokyo outranks Jinshi in the social hierarchy. That is, from the side that he's just some guy responsible for keeping the eunuchs in line in the rear palace. If you believe that he is Kosen, the crown prince, then I wouldn't know, as that would be the emperor's son versus one of the emperor's air quotes wives. At the same time, if you believe he's the emperor's brother, like most people should, I think, then I'd also not know. All of these roles are tangential to the emperor himself. Hard for me to determine which are lateral to each other. Because, if you get the emperor up here, and then you have the emperor's consort, she's not on the level of the emperor. She's not the empress dowager, for example. Dowager. She's not the empress, for example. So she's not, even then, the empress wouldn't be slightly below. When I say lateral, I don't even mean really lateral, because it would be like somewhat downslope angle. Everything is a downslope to the emperor. So I don't know if the emperor's brother is on the same slope as the emperor's son, because you would have to believe that the emperor's son is in line to inherit the throne, whereas the emperor's brother isn't. But how much leverage does the emperor's brother then get if he's not in line? And then, not for nothing, I know this is Chinese based, but my head goes to Japan, where you had the emperor who turned into a monk, and he wanted everything left to his son, and I think he had like a brother-in-law that tried to take over, and it's just like, if this shit can happen, I don't know. I like how Kanan came around to being Li Shu's chief advocate. I'd almost be willing to say that they have a mother-daughter relationship, I mean, in feeling anyway. The way Li Shu cowers into her sometimes. The only reason I'd say not is that Kanan seems just as likely to cower into Li Shu. Maomao broke her and made her a timid thing, it seems. I like Kanan by virtue of she's the only one there for Li Shu, but seeing how her timidness isn't allowing her to put the bullying to rest, Li Shu needs more people on her side in her own pavilion. Some of these episodes, like this one or the metal one, as I mentioned earlier, I could imagine the case closed door closing sound after Maomao says that she's figured it out, so that the audience has the commercial break to try and solve it before Maomao launches into the solution. I feel like I'd have more to say about this episode's mystery, but I basically figured it out in real time during the reaction, or, close enough to it. I'm close enough that if I was a judge, I'd say, you basically got it. Lu Men knows about magic mirrors, which is interesting. Also, the implication that he knows a bit about metallurgy, since the mirrors are made of copper. Metallurgy is a skill we learned about last season. When Jinshi almost got killed. Not saying there's a connection between the two, just that it's interesting enough to make a note about. I know Jinshi is pointing out how deeply inappropriate it would be for a regular lady-in-waiting to be wearing a hairpin from a high-ranking concubine, even if it was just a gift to her, in order to put that bitch in her place. But I can't help but think back to the garden party and how Jinshi gifted Maomao his hairpin, and how it seemed to represent more than just Jinshi's current position. Plus, she got hairpins from other concubines too. I don't know if we are going back on what happened there, or just implying how bad things could have been. And I'm already at my last note here, which is, so there used to be a document to prove you were a eunuch, but due to fraud, now there is a physical inspection every time you enter or exit. If memory serves, the only time Jinshi has ever officially left, by the way, I'm going back on this because I remember that it's not the way I meant to phrase it. The only time Jinshi has ever left that I can remember, he snuck out pretending to be other people. That time to go to the Pleasure District, and a couple episodes ago as Kusen when he went up north. Otherwise, I think he's always stayed in the palace and thus never had to be checked. I don't know how Gaoshun beat the check, though, since he left as himself a couple of episodes ago. And we know that he's taking the same drug to pretend to be a eunuch as well. So, he should not present is not the word I'm looking for here. People should think he's a eunuch, so you would think he's being tested as a eunuch. But he left and came back, implying, I guess, that there is some sort of loophole for them to be able to use. Because I'm sorry, I didn't put it in my note, but I'm going to say it out loud because I remember. The test is that 3 separate people from 3 different districts test you. So you can't, use your influence over one district because the other 2 people still get you. So there's something. I guess Gaoshun's presence and ability to get in and out implies that there's something that they can do. Anyway, those were my notes. That was the board. So nothing left to do here but to hop on in and see what we get.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
And right into the opening. Which, I keep saying this just as a production note or something. the element that I do all of my notes and then immediately go into a show that is opening, and then I don't have much to say because I've already covered all my thoughts, and I am forced to talk over the opening for fair use, copyright reasons. You know, can't have the song play on YouTube, as it were. I will note, because I think I brought this up during last reaction, that there was all the hairpin, and there's a hairpin in the opening. Obviously, it's not the same hairpin. Li Shu's hairpin that the lady in waiting has was a gold one, and the one in the opening is silver. But I'm pretty sure the silver one in the opening is the one that Jinshi gave her back at the garden party. Ironically, as I previously mentioned, in comparison to what Jinshi says to the previous head lady in waiting, when she infers, or when he tells her that it's highly inappropriate for her to have it, even if it was gifted to her. I guess my only last thought here before we actually hit the show, they did mention Lakan's half-brother, that he inherited everything from his father and his half-brother. I almost thought about putting a half-brother block on the board, didn't do it. God, I feel so bad for her. I do like the audience saying, oh, should we feel bad for the eunuch too? Oh, the one you're least likely to get things by. Well, obviously also because it would melt. This could be the ice cream episode. Was ice cream the thing that we saw in the next time on? I think I've mentioned this like 100 times, if I've mentioned it once. The thing I hate the most is seeing a happy girl in these shows get so excited and then something bad happens. Because obviously she just achieved everything that she was hoping to achieve. Because she's been like the best fucking girl the entire goddamn show. It's more than that. You make a wrong move around here, you get fucking killed. Or you could be. It hasn't happened to anyone yet. Except that one time Maomao got fucking beaten out of her by a guard. You have your time. You have your time and he would love it.
それだっておやつを土産にやっていたので貸し借りはない。
She's a good friend. Xiaolan, I mean. Xiaolan's a good friend, but also Maomao's obviously also a good friend.
このままだと寝覚めが悪いので。
そうか、寝覚めが悪いか。
はい、その日の仕事に差し支えます。
それは困るな。では条件をつけよう。人の話は最後まで聞け。
そんなことで
That's
いいのです
basically what I was saying about the time thing.
そんなこともできないのは誰だ？そうか、なら別の条件にしよう。何がいいかな？
嫌な予感がする。やっぱり玉葉様を頼るか。いや、ローラン妃のことで頼るわけには。あ、ありがとうございます。
See, I would have expected something like,
かんざしはつけないのか？
meet me at some place at this time, and then her having a whole thing about what does he want from me, that sort of thing.
園遊会でやったのがあるだろう。
The one from
ま
the
さか売
opening.
り払ってないだろうな。
売っていません。今はまだ。
じゃあそれをつけてこい。
え、それだけですか？
悪いか？
Essentially, it's his mark on her.
つけてきたらその時いいよ。調理場だな。用意させる。
I guess the irony is also the fact that if anybody could just get more ice, it would be Jinshi.
持ってきたぞ。
そこに置いてください。
わかった。
Guessing a bunch of salt
ママ、これ
and milk.
砂糖と果物と牛の乳？新鮮なのがあってよかった。牛の乳は特に腐りやすいし。これで本当に氷菓子みたいなの
I guess you use sugar instead of salt. I use some.
作ってるとこを一度見ただけだけど。
頼むぞ、本当に。
できたらお呼びしますから。
I mean, to be fair, the one at most risk is this dude. No one wants to get caned.
これ、かき混ぜて。何してるの？氷を砕いてる。こんなにちっちゃく。大丈夫。これでよし。塩？シャオラン、そっち
Boom,
の
told
器
you,
中に
salt.
突っ込んで。はい。
Again, this is the position I would be in if you asked me to make ice cream off the bat with no instructions. Because again, this is I'm assuming what they're doing.
果物切ってちっちゃくね。
See, that's gonna be yogurt, but I'm thinking that's the ingredients for ice cream.
さらに混ぜて器に盛り付ければ。完成。ねえねえ、これって見ての通りアイスだよ。まあ9大点か。もっと時間があれば卵を入れたり薬草で香り付けもできたけど。早く持って行ってもらおう。でも味見って必要じゃない？いつもの調子が戻って。
I would say there's like literally not enough to sample. Oh, never mind. There was a sample left in the bowl.
なんだ？おい、できたのか？
こちらを届けてください。
本当に大丈夫なんだろうな。
何か問題ありますか？
I mean, to be fair, if you can convince this guy, he's the one who's risking getting caned.
わかった。
よかった。ありがとう、マオマオ。どうだろう。ローラン妃が気に入っ てくれるかな。人士様から好き嫌いの類は聞いておいた。口はつけてくれるだろう。
もうそれより溶けちゃう前に食べようよ。
そうだよ、食べようよ。
しそ
なんでここに？
なんか騒がしかったから仕事放りだ。
Again, remember that I think she's actually Lulan. So,
おいしいわこれ。
一人で美味しいとこだけ持ってかないでよ。
if that was the case, then whoever's sitting in for her, would she have somebody caned? I don't know if her dad's there and her dad would have somebody caned.
こりゃ足りないな。もう一回くらいなら作れるかな。
Barely used any of the ice, though. I'm just happy she's back to smiling and laughing. It's my one weakness in this show, I guess.
動いたわ。リンリー、触ってみる？
You know, Linglei's really grown up.
生まれるまであともう少し。
Way more coordinated than she used to be. I remember when she was still stumbling around.
不思議ね。リンリーの時と違って舌ばかり蹴ってるの。
舌？
赤子のうちから個性
I don't know, does that mean it's twisted around? I hope we're not covering one of those things where, like,
少し触れてもよろしいでしょうか。
ええ、いいけど。
it gets twisted up while giving birth and strangles itself. One of those things.
リンリー姫の出産はどうでしたか？
安産だったわよ。ウィーザンとは思えないくらい。この子の体が小さかったのも幸いしたのかしら。
助産はどなたが？
私がやりました。ここの医官は頼りないし、助産のために雇った女官は体調を崩してしまって。勉強していたからなんとかなったけど。
では今回もその女官に？
いいえ、また大事な時に体調を崩されてはたまらないわ。リヴァ妃の時も別の方が入ったそうよ。もともと臨時で高級入りした助産師だったの。
そうですか。
Third party outside person.
高級の外から迎えるんだろうか。前回立ち会ったとはいえ、本ニャン様も本業で。
Again, I already thought that we were gonna get to Lu Men, but technically he's banned, so I don't know how the hell he's getting back in.
断言はできませんが、逆子かもしれません。
逆子？
はい。ずいぶん下の方ばかり蹴られているようなので、リンリー姫の時、上ばかりを蹴っていたなら、頭が下にあったはず。
This is what I was talking about.
一番大きな頭が先に出ることで、赤子が
Not that I know anything about this. Don't take this as any expertise.
細い足から出てしまうと、出産の危険性が一気に増してしまうのです。
Okay, and see, even there, her concern was not the same as my concern.
あくまで可能性です。もう少し詳しく触診すればわかるかもしれませんが。
できるの？
断言はできない。親父から教わったのは薬の知識だけだ。あとは見よう見まねで。
やってちょうだい。
ちなみに方法は？
あら、本当？この子を産んだ時に比べたら大したことないわ。
Also, probably nothing compared to all the books that you've made us read to please the Emperor.
わかりました。
どう？
なんとも言い難いが、可能性は高いかと思います。お腹の中で向きを変えることもありますが、出産までの時間を考えると。
どうすればいいの？
花町では急や体を動かしたりすると良いと聞きます。急なら私が。
お願いするわ。他の
Guessing that's a
方法がないか
drug.
高級の外で当たってみます。
Sometimes a really
ええ、
drug-like name. Was it unexpected for this show?
逆子のままだったらどうなるのかしら。
腹を切ることになるかもしれません。
そう。
Well, we know about cesareans.
だがそうなれば玉葉様の命が危ない。ちゃんとした助産師がいても危険だというのに、ヤブがもっとまともな医者だったら、だからって代わりなんかどこにいる。
Again, as much as I keep wanting to say, Lumen,
玉があってはいけない。腕が良くて宦官でもある医官なんて。
he's banned. They broke his fucking leg.
一人最適な人物が。だけど
マオマオ。
一人心当たりがあります。
そうなの？
医術の腕は申し分ありません。石灰で赤子を取り上げた経験もあります。
まあ、そんな方が。まさか神子様の次女の？
違います。医者です。
Also, I guess
水蓮様、一体何をしたんだ？
どんな方なの？
その人は一度高級を追放された。
I'm saying banned. She's saying exiled. Same thing.
認められません。玉葉様と巫女の命に関わることです。信頼のおけるものでなければ。
信頼できます。この国一番の医者です。
I mean, at one time he was trusted to deliver the Empress's son
大きな口を叩くのね。
and
だけど罪人でしょ。
the Emperor's son.
とても任せられないわ。
ですが、
待って、二人とも。ほんにゃ、頭から押さえつけないで。マオマオも落ち着いて。
I guess the problem is, though, is that he's considered to have fucked that up. So,
どんな罪を犯した方なの？
そのものは宦官で高級の医官でした。過去には帝と今の東宮様、そしてアードー妃の巫女を取り上げています。高級を追放された理由についてはアードー妃関連としか。実際親父から何か聞いたわけでも確信があるわけでもない。
that's weird that they would put it that way.
ただの憶測だ。
その人はマオマオとどういう関係なの？
養父です。薬師としての師でもあります。
わかったわ。その方を呼べないか、神子殿に提案してみ
Because it's either that they're blaming him for
ほんにゃ、私は優秀
the problem with Adu's womb, where she can't give birth anymore.
それに悪い人だとは思えないのよ。野良猫みたいな子
Or inferring exactly that he knows about the
野良猫？
baby switching thing, because everyone thought Adu's child died later to the poisoning,
偉大なる女帝の知性に翻弄された方が
even though it wasn't her actual baby. Look at the board. Look at the board. If you're confused with what I'm talking about, look at my board.
鵜呑みにはできないわ。わかりました。そうとなれば、早速あの子に文を書かないとね。
さすがの貫禄。これが母になる妃というものか。
But it was the Empress Dowager that exiled him. How the hell is she gonna let him back in?
2日後。
すまないね。お待ちしておりました。ルーメンだ。
And again, Lumen has never been off of my radar for being part of any possible conspiracy. And I don't consider the baby switching thing to be a conspiracy. I think there's something greater than that.
また戻ってくることになるとはね。
老婆のような姿をした男が高級にやってきた。
It's a hell of a way to refer to Lumen.
ローメンでございます。臨時の医官としてしばらく高級医局に仕えることになりました。
マオマオから聞いております。よろしく頼みますね。
はい。
Let's not forget also that Lumen is Lakan's uncle,
臨時雇いか。ま、
who just got mentioned previously as being back in the picture.
ギャルが解雇されたらどうしようかと思ったが、その心配もなくてよかった。
では失礼します。どうぞ。
ねえねえ、あの人マオマオのお父さんなんだよね。
Yeah, I would say sort of.
正確には大叔父だけど。
なんか全然想像と違ったんだけど。
優しそうよね。穏やかだし。
Yeah, I guess great uncle does work. Technically, he's your dad's
あの人
uncle.
がマオマオを育てたのみたいな。
すごくわかる。あなたたち。
あ、いや、
何を想像してたんですか？
まあ、なんて言えば。ねえ、常識人っぽくない？
だよね。
ゲセヌ。
And no shit is up. I gotta figure this shit out, though. Sure, you know? Masquerading as one, a man, and two, a slave. And I'm guessing that's gonna be the mother's grave? God, I can't remember my theory about Sure. Also, I don't remember if I'm saying the right name either, but, was my thought that she was the Emperor's, love affair woman's daughter? Was that my previous theory? Whatever my theory was, I remember it made sense towards why she would be vindictive towards Jinshi. While at the same time, I don't think she's doing it on her own. I think she's doing it for somebody, because it seems like there was heavily inspired to be a conspiracy at play and not just a solo actor. Well, I mean, we got Lumen back in the rear palace. That's definitely a thing that's happening. Otherwise, I feel like the majority of this episode didn't actually have much to cover. We made ice cream. I think I remember that from the next time on, and obviously I pretty much guessed it here. What are we going to make? Ice cream. But also the element that she was there, and my thought is still constantly, she's Lulan, so. Oh man, all the players are at play here. I think one of those, I think that was the teacher who was teaching Xiaolan and the rest of the girls. Obviously we saw Lakan. Was it Lulan's father? The cat. It seemed like somebody was holding hair needles in their hand like that, like they were gonna, rush up and punch for an assassination. However, at the same time, we literally just got done talking to Jinshi about hairpins, so it's entirely possible just a misread scene thrown into the next time on to redirect, or mislead, rather. Anyway, a third, maybe a little bit more of the episode, ice cream. Some of it, breech birth, which apparently I know just enough about to talk about, but not to get entirely right, which is fine. And another portion to bring Lumen back into the Rear Palace, which again, I'm surprised how the hell did he do that? He's an exiled. I have to assume they sent the letter to the Empress Dowager, because she's the one who exiled him, unless she exiled him before the Emperor took hold. We know that he took hold about 7 years ago, although obviously I don't think that time frame is applicable anymore. Based on the way Ling Ling is growing up, I have to assume that maybe it's been 9 years now. It's been like 2 years showtime or something. And in that, maybe they sent the letter to the Emperor, who rescinded the Empress Dowager's exiling, right? I think that would make sense. He doesn't give a shit. Well, he would, wouldn't he? He would give a shit, because if it was in relation to Adu, he would have been the father of whatever happened there. But see, the element is, again, the fact... Oh, that's right. I remember now. He was supervising the birth of Adu's kid, which would have been the Emperor's son. But everyone thinks Kosen's alive. I mean, Kosen is alive because it's Jinshi. That's also a confusing element for me. Everybody knows Adu's kid died because of her head lady in waiting giving him honey when he was a kid, which poisoned him and killed him. But Kosen is around, and Kosen is that kid. So everyone knows that kid died, and everyone knows that that kid's alive. You know, not for nothing, that kid is dead. So it's not ambiguous. It's just Jinshi is posing as them, even though they're dead. Even though Jinshi is actually also that kid. So that's what I'm talking about when I say look at the board. So many fucking layers to this that I constantly am getting it confused in my head. Aodu's kid, the Emperor and Aodu's kid, is Jinshi. Jinshi swapped at birth with the Empress's kid. The Emperor's kid switched to Adu. Adu's kid gets poisoned with honey, by accident, mind you, by the head lady in waiting. That kid's dead. Jinshi is then taken in by the Empress Dowager to be the Emperor's brother, even though technically he's the Emperor's son. But at some point, apparently, he's also now pretending to be himself, which is Kosen. By be himself, I mean be the Emperor's son, which he is. But he's pretending to be him, because why would he ever think that he would be him? It's so many layers. So many layers. That's why it used to be on the board I'd have what everyone thinks and what I think to be true. And now that doesn't even work. Because again, what everyone thinks obviously also doesn't work. Because everyone thinks that Kusen is a person. Everyone thinks she is just some guy who works in the rear palace, keeping track of the eunuchs and keeping the girls in line. And then apparently some people must also think that he's the Emperor's brother. So what everyone thinks is like 3 different boards. Anyway, I think I'm just running in circles on this one. Of course, we also have Maomao's notes. So let's go ahead and see. I'm going to assume how to make ice cream on this episode's Maomao's notes.
Maomao no Hitorigoto.
Knowledgeable.
まさか玉葉様の子が逆子だったとは。リファ様もローラン様も誤解人の
Guess I guessed wrong. One of the pregnancy thing, not ice cream.
ま、でも親父が来てくれたから一安心だけど。ママー！お、シャオラン。
この間は本当にありがとう。
別に。
そういえば、あの時どうして氷に塩を入れたの？
ここでマオマオの豆
Never mind, I was right. It's gonna be ice cream.
氷は溶けるときに熱を吸収し、周りのものを冷やす。塩はこの働きを非常に強く、早くする。 氷に塩を入れたことで氷が急激に周りのものを冷やし、牛の乳が固まりアイスができた。
本当にマオマオは物知りだね。
全部親父に教わったことだけど。
私なんて
I mean, it was an early thing that I brought up. How the hell does she know so much?
マオマオは本当にすごいな。
噂話はシャオラの方が詳しいじゃん。
お、確かに。そうだ。新しい噂。
That was a cute little laugh between the two of them.
今度はどんな話なんだ？化け物か変態宦官か？
違うよ。今回はなんと
イカン？
今日新しいイカンが入ってきたみたいでさ、年上の渋い人なんだって。
それは。
はあ、私の好みだといいな。
もう一回アイスを作って。
Xiaolan likes him
してもらおう
old.
かな。
うるわしのイカン様。
次回、救う悪意、高級の深淵に迫る。
Some of them give hints, some of them don't. I think we've been on a swath of no hint Maomao's notes. Even though this one was particularly long, no hints. I hope that carries over. Not because I'm interested in seeing Xiaolan with Lu Men. That would be so fucking weird. But it's so fucking weird, I just want to see what they would do with it in the show. Like, maybe it's the element that the same way that they said Lu Men looks like an older woman instead of an old man, that he's like an extremely old version of Jinshi. So Xiaolan would still be interested, even though, again, nothing happening there. I don't know. Again, I'm interested as, like, dark curiosity. Not dark curiosity, just morbid curiosity. I guess it's the same thing. Just want to know what the fuck would happen there. Also, just the element that I always bring up that I consider Maomao's notes to be canon. So if, like, something happens in the Maomao's notes, it's not particularly like, hey, let me teach you something, but, like, if Jinshi and Maomao do a thing, that I consider that to be canon to the story of the rest of the show. I would at least like one thing that happens in Maomao's notes to carry over to the show. Xiaolan saying, oh, I might be into the new medical officer, and then have her in the next episode start hitting on the medical officer. Lu Men. To be something. Anyway, and not much to talk about here. Again, I thought it was going to be ice cream. They juked me by talking about the pregnancy thing again. And then they talked about the ice cream, which, you know, I had guessed. I, in the moment, did not remember that, what do you call it, endothermic reaction between salt and ice, which is used to make ice cream. It's either endothermic or hypothermic. I can't remember. I think it's endothermic. Did not remember that in the moment, because literally they were bringing up, well, why salt? And I'm like, I don't remember. Why is it salt? And then they said, and it's like, oh, yeah, now I remember. So yeah, I was going to say, not a lot to talk about there, but I think I just talked for like 2 minutes about how there was nothing to talk about. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's probably it for this episode. I think I covered everything from the show element that I remember off the top of my head. Obviously, there's going to be more with the notes next time. I guess there's going to be a couple of board changes. Obviously, Lu Men to Gyokyo is going to be a change. A lot of speculation, I guess, between the Empress Dowager, Lu Men, and Lu Men and why he got exiled. That's to come. So I guess until then, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time.
The
this too goofy?